Yep.
Hi, it's Paul Banis of GreatDad.com, and I'm here in another one of my series of conversations with fellow coaches who are doing positive intelligence, because it's a discipline that I've really grabbed onto because of the way it makes really meaningful changes in very quick fashion, especially with men, and tapping into the things that are kind of getting in the way of their daily happiness and more positive outlook on life. And today I'm here with fellow coach Jackie Meek, who's calling in from the UK, from Oxford. Welcome, Jackie.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here with you all today, Paul.
And Jackie's got a fair amount of coaching experience, 7 years, and been working in positive intelligence, working on developing her 5th pod right now, and has some experience that I'm sure is going to be interesting. I'm just always fascinated how people come to coaching, first of all, but then also how positive intelligence has affected them. So let's start out with your coaching experience. You've been doing this for 7 years. What brought you to coaching?
Yes, thank you. It's a lovely story, my coaching, because my second child went to school. So I'd got both children at school. So they're both at primary school. And I thought, what about me now? I had a part-time job, which left me 2 days where I could actually think, what do I want to do? And I sought out a life coach. And I had a series of 6 life coaching sessions. And in those sessions, they transformed my relationship with my husband for the better. And I didn't go into the coaching thinking I need to have some coaching on my relationship. But I noticed that in my relationship with my husband, every few months I was saying, do you love me? Do you really love me? I don't feel loved. I know you love me, but I don't really feel it. And he said, of course I love you. I married you. And through the coaching, I started to see all the different ways that he was expressing his love to me, which was different ways to the way I was wanting to be loved. And that just transformed our relationship, because I could see numerous ways that he was expressing his love. It just wasn't in the way that I was expecting. And so that really hooked me onto the power of coaching. And I then undertook a course to train to be a coach. And I got my International Coaching Federation qualification in 2016. And then I built my business from that. And my business came about because we had to do a role play on my course. And I had a clear picture that I was talking to mums in the playground, which is where my heart for coming alongside frazzled mums to help them to confidently boss the mum juggle came about. So I not only got a qualification in coaching, but I also found my niche and my passion as well, which was great.
Right. Well, I love that story because it touches on so many different things about coaching. I mean, the fact that through coaching, you were able to see a different path for yourself, which is really what coaching is about. It's that, unlike therapy, which I really believe in therapy, but that's for going backwards. Coaching is for going forwards, and you were able to I'm sure have those one-on-one conversations that are just so incredible and transformative within coaching, and think through a lot of things, untangle things in your own mind, and then finding this really delightful niche, which obviously is the one that's very close to my heart as well, is how to support moms and dads in this journey, which you've had some challenges in that area as well, right? With your son born prematurely.
Yes, in 2008, I fell pregnant with twins, and we were totally shocked by that because there's no twins in our family. And we understood we were having a boy and a girl. And unfortunately, I went into premature labor at 26 weeks plus 6 days, so 13 weeks early.
Wow.
And Christopher and Ella were born in 2008. So they came out in June and they should have been in September. So that just shows how premature they were. As you can imagine, they were incredibly unwell, and we're thrust into this world of the special care baby unit, which you know nothing about until you get to experience it. And unfortunately, we lost our daughter, Ella Ray, aged 19 days old. So that was a very difficult time, as you can imagine. And Christopher was still fighting for his life at that time as well. And he stayed for 83 days in hospital in the end. And we were able to take him home, weighing about 5 pounds by then, at 3 months old. And he's now a delightful 14-year-old. So
Great.
that's our journey there. And then I did go on to have another pregnancy, and we were very blessed to have a daughter. So we went on to have our much loved daughter, and Annabelle is now 12 as well. So that's sort of part of my heart for mums, is every mum has a story, and every dad as well. And no one is, immune from having those difficulties. They just come at different times. And that's sort of fueled my passion to turn my story into a force for good, to come alongside those mums at that difficult time.
Yeah, I mean, that's a horrible story, and but I think it's also emblematic of the fact that there are so many, like you say, there's so many different stories. There are those kind of really traumatic things, and there are the everyday dramas of parenting that people really need to have an outlet for. And I know you do a group program with moms to kind of make sure that there is somebody there, a group of people that are there to help support them in that way.
Yes, that's correct. I've developed a program over the last few years called the Boardroom, and that is an opportunity for a small group of mums, so a maximum of 6, to come together on Zoom or face-to-face. And it really provides an oasis of support for mums to bring challenges that are sometimes difficult to talk about to friends or family, and just those really difficult things that you want to voice. And for example, one of my clients is a single mum, and the last Boardroom meeting we met at, she wanted to talk about her mortgage because she needs to be mortgaged. Who do you talk to about your mortgage? And I said to her, how would you like to be coached? Because we have so many different techniques that we're used to using now. And she said, I need your advice. I want to hear what you think I should do. Now, that's not really a coaching environment, because we're used to asking good questions and helping the client to figure it out, but she needed some advice. And, there were 6 of us in the room that could say, why don't you try this? Have you thought of that? What about approaching this? And just that wealth of information was what she needed at that time. And that's what this Boardroom does, is literally provide an opportunity to bring things that are quite difficult otherwise. So
that's the magic of, I guess, through the pandemic and the magic of Zoom, that has really transformed the whole parenting space. Because years ago, people, they were lucky if they had friends who were having babies at the same time. That was, if you didn't have that, you were kind of lost. And then there were things like Baby Center and forums like that, where people could get on and type out those type of questions. But with Zoom, in all kinds of domains, there are these support groups. And this is, I think, just a crucial time is young parenthood, because like you say, a lot of it does feel like you're alone in it when you're doing it, and you need somebody who's not going to be judging you, but is interested in supporting you and helping you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's something about, we don't know what it's like to parent until we get there. We don't know how we're going to show up. I've always wanted children. So I've studied families since I was about 10, because they always fascinated me. So I had quite a clear picture, but my husband doesn't have a background like that. He hadn't really even thought about it at all. So, when you get there, what support do you need? How can you agree on things? How can you work out how to parent? How can you work out what boundaries you want to bring to your children? What expectations you have on them? And that's a big thing to work together. The other thing with children is it's changing all the time. I've got a 12 and a 14-year-old now, and I'm in a completely new phase to the one I was 2 years ago. So,
and heaven forbid you treat the teenager like the 9-year-old.
Yeah, totally. So you've got to, you're still learning. You've still got to be flexible. You've still got to, seek out support sometimes when things are really difficult. My son in lockdown really struggled with home learning, and he literally couldn't function at all. And, that was totally alien to us as to what to do. And, we needed to batten down the hatches and get him the support that he needed, but we couldn't have predicted that. So you have to be ready, I think, ready to ask for help and not just bury your head in the sand and hope it will go away, because most of the time it doesn't.
Yeah, that's what I love about coaching, is that help can be kind of the being there and listening to somebody, kind of try to figure these things out. But we all parent, to some degree, we're similar, but we all parent in slightly different ways. And it's so important to parent according to your own values and your own personal beliefs, rather than, getting a book and having somebody tell you what to do, every week you should do X, Y, Z, which that sometimes isn't really who you are. I mean, that's what I find with the work with dads, is that's the key thing, is dads have to figure out a way to parent that's true to who men are, that sometimes isn't exactly the way mom would do it. And a lot of the studies show that there's a complementarity there, but but if you're out of sync with your own values, you can run into problems.
I think there's something there about, being authentic,
right,
and understanding yourself enough so that you can parent the way you want to parent, rather than the way you've been brought up.
Yeah, that's true too.
Or what you've witnessed in the past. Some people shy away from how they were parented. Other people don't know any different or don't question it. And maybe there is a better way. And, in a marriage, often there's that compromise to work out what you both agree to move forward. And, there's an element of that sometimes needed as well.
Yeah. So let's shift on to positive intelligence, because I really want to hear how you came to that. You were in one of the earlier groups?
I was in cohort 7.
Cohort 7, okay.
Yeah, so 2021, I think. Yeah.
So I think they're saying now that maybe 100,000 coaches or 40,000. I can't remember what the number is. So there's a large number of coaches now who have been through the program, because it is so, I think, for a lot of us who are maybe a little bit more structured, we like the fact that there's a clear picture of how we're helping people develop a language and a way of organizing their thinking around some of the challenges and problems in their day, rather than coming to a coach and saying, I have a problem. After you've done the program, you have more of a framework that then you can go to the coach and get a lot more out of coaching. So how did your first cohort go?
Yep. So I heard about positive intelligence from a fellow coach who I've actually known since I was 14. And our lives have been just, rubbing along together over the years. And he had heard about it through his coach, and he'd done the program, and he just said, this is being rolled out for coaches. You need to book on it now and ask questions later. He just said, you've just got to go for it, and, we'll figure it out. And I'm still in his pod that he
good.
set up. Which is fab. So I then started to explore what was involved and downloaded the app. And for me, it was just all about a tool to help me to respond to things rather than react.
Right.
And I think as a parent, a lot of the time we get triggered by our children.
Yeah.
And we respond, or we don't respond, we react quickly, suddenly, and perhaps without the care or the thought that we would much have preferred. Right. And so for me, it's been a real eye-opening opportunity to find a method to help me to respond well to things. So when my child is having a meltdown, I can say, bring it on. I can handle it. Show me your emotion. I'm ready. Rather than going, oh, don't go there, or flying off the handle and making it worse. So, with my children now, they know their saboteurs, they can talk about their saboteurs, and we have a language now that I can apologize when my saboteurs just met their saboteurs, because stuff like that happens. And that's, not to be shied away from, but to explore each as an opportunity. Let's do that differently. Let's do that differently. And so that's been part of my journey. And then as soon as I'd done my course, my coaching course, I then went on to study with positive intelligence and did the whole year's course. And I then started running groups from January this year, because I just had no doubt that this would be so powerful for my mum clients.
Right.
And
Okay.
it has consistently proved to be so many ways they've been impacted. You know, there's a whole package around nipping negativity in the bud. You know, our voices can be very negative. So how can we nip that in the bud? You can do this course and learn about nipping negativity in the bud. You can equip yourself to stop shouting at your kids because you recognize that's saboteurs. You might fly off the handle straight away and then go, oh, no, that was my saboteur. I'm going to stop. You know, you can respond better when things don't go to plan.
Yeah.
You can strengthen the quality of your personal and professional relationships through this. So it's all really suitable for parents, you know, building resilience so that you can deal with things in a calm and focused way. You know, we're the adult here in these relationships. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but we need to step up and be the adult when the children can't do that because they're just children, you know? Yeah. And there's also a piece around self-empathy. I think as parents, we often love our kids, but we neglect ourselves. We don't love ourselves. And to be able to model that actually I need to look after myself too, you know, that's a good thing to model to your children. Yeah, looking after yourself.
You've done a great job of summing up all the benefits of the program. Now that you're saying it, I think that the Parenthood is maybe the best laboratory for using positive intelligence. I mean, a lot of people go to positive intelligence because they want to gain what they call mental fitness through the program. That's one of the big sales points, and so they can do better in their careers and better in the adult world. But when you think about it, I mean, our families are really the most important laboratory and the place where we maybe have the most painful kind of conflicts like that. And we all face in all of our interpersonal relationships, but especially at home with our partners and with our kids, those moments where we just react very viscerally. And some of us aren't even aware how we're being triggered by that. So like you say, one of the first steps in the program is getting people just be aware that when that impulse hits, that's the time not to just continue on with the impulse and say, no, do it my way, no, clean up the garbage, you know, whatever the crisis, whether bigger or small, is at the moment, but is to then recognize that and then figure out tools to how to deal with it, so you can turn something that's a negative moment into something hopefully that's changed within the process.
Yeah, I think there's also something about that kind of professional life and home life. And there's something about you're more raw at home.
Yeah.
You know, you're more unfiltered. I think at work, you have to be a certain way. You've got to fit in. You've got to, you know, perhaps tone down. You've got to filter things before you say them. But at home, you know, if you've had a bad day, everybody gets it in the neck.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to be like that to your family, but you don't know an alternative, and you wouldn't behave like that at work,
right? Because
it would be unacceptable. But at home, you know, what sometimes comes out of your mouth, you're like, how can I be that snappy? You know, and it's
to the people I love the most. Yeah.
And so I think, like you say, positive intelligence fits remarkably well with the family situation, because it is that fantastic laboratory for who are you really, you know, what is your core essence, and what is he or she really like? You know, how does she really want to respond to things, rather than just getting triggered, you know, which is not how we want to respond, not the best way.
Right.
And that can be learned through positive intelligence is such a fantastic tool, because you're taking steps, you're building those mental muscles so that the next time you have a big blow up, you react differently, you know, because there will be another opportunity and another opportunity. They just come up, you know, in every family, they come up.
And that's the sweet part of the program, is that there's nobody is trying to sell anybody on the fact that 6 or 7 weeks later, you're going to come out the other end of being a perfect person. We're all in this journey of, you know, this imperfect journey of life. And there are going to be all these things. All we're trying to do is help people arm themselves with some tools that will help approach more of these solutions in a better way each time, and keep on building different neural pathways so there's a different response than maybe they would have had before.
Yeah, and I think that's why it lends itself so well to being called mental fitness, because, you know, we can't say I'm fit and then stop exercising.
Right.
You know? we need to exercise regularly, all of us. So it makes perfect sense to have to exercise your mental muscles each day. So I have my own positive intelligence practice. You know, each morning I'm getting up early before the rest of the family. I'm plugging in to the app then and listening to the mindfulness gym. I'm also doing it with my work colleagues now. So I'm in a team of 9 at work, and 4 of us doing the apps, what's they called, PQ reps. At 12 o'clock every day. I have a little alarm, and I'm like, who wants to come in? And we'll go into a meeting room and we'll just do a 5-minute practice, and then I have a lovely half an hour in my car once I finish work to pick my kids up. I can sit outside school in the car and I will do another 12-minute rep then. So, you know, it's finding those moments where you commit to plugging in to continue to build my muscles. I can't stop, you know, now, because I need to continue to build those muscles so that when things are difficult, even in the car journey home, because somebody's had a bad day, you know, you don't know when it's going to hit next. And I need to be ready. So I need to be, you know, I need to be pumped up and ready for that next challenge so that I respond in the best way possible.
So let's talk just a moment about the groups, just so people have an overview of how a group works. You've got a group actually starting at the end of the month, a new pod starting at the end of the month, and people can go to your website, futurepath.lifecoaching.co.uk, and I'll put that in the notes if they're either want to have a UK based experience or or closer geographically to you. But maybe if you could briefly describe how, if your 6-week program, if that differs at all, or just what the general 6-week program looks like. So
so I guess it starts off by registering with the app so that you can start using the app straight away. To onboard people, I have a 15-minute telephone conversation, which is a no obligation call, just to find out exactly what you're looking to achieve through the program, so that I can say whether it's going to deliver what it is you want. So that's an important aspect. And then once you download the app, then you can start using the gym sessions already, and you get the use of the app for a whole 12 months. So even after your 6-week program, you can still plug in to the gym and all the recordings. And then we would start to release the videos, which come on a Saturday morning for us in the UK. And you've got the weekend and perhaps Monday to listen to them. And then we will schedule a pod meeting. So that's for a maximum of 6 mums, either on a Monday or Tuesday evening. We normally have that once the children are in bed. So the one I'm doing at the moment goes from 8:30 till 9 p.m. As they've got young children who'll be in bed by then. And I normally do a half an hour to 35 minutes pod, which is then really just talking about what you've experienced over the weekend with the videos, how you're getting on with your personal practice, and to encourage them to keep each other accountable as to what's going well in their group with their practice and what perhaps they're struggling with. So we continue with the program, and often people will then want some one-to-one coaching with me if they want to explore things further. So that's open to that. And also I can then signpost them to my group program, which we talked about earlier, the Mum Boardroom. So quite a few of them have been signing up to that to continue with their accountability and their practice and working on challenges together. So what was I going to say? Just about keeping up with that practice, really. This isn't just 6 weeks. This is
developing new habits.
A life-changing transformation of building new habits, like you say, and it goes alongside the eating well, the exercising regularly, looking after yourself, and managing your mind as well. So it fits really well into that.
Yeah, that's a good point about it, how it fits with these other types of self-care things. I think we kind of bumble through life, a lot of us, and kind of don't know what's going on at any one moment. And the program really helps you get more in touch with, I guess, what is present, what matters, what's going on. It's, I think for some of us who who like a little bit more, like I was saying earlier, like a little bit more structure, it does have a very, very specific chapters in it. It starts with understanding what those negative thoughts are, what they mean, whether you're saying you've got a problem, somebody else has a problem, or the situation has a problem, and then figuring out eventually what we call saboteurs live inside you that are giving you those messages. And then the second half of the program is really toward how do you then respond? How do you figure out ways to respond more positively? So it's first of all, it's all the kind of the bad stuff, the hard stuff to be aware of, and then in the second part is solutions and figuring out happier ways to be every day. And unlike some things, it really is very, very focused and very results oriented as you go along, and very, very structured for those of us who like that.
Yeah, I like the structure, and I've found that my clients that have done the program have really appreciated that structure. I've only heard one lady as a coach, and she said she really struggled with the app and it didn't get on with it, but that's the first I've heard. But yeah, I think that structure for me gives security and routine and stability, and that's what I like, about that. And I think, people come to the program with different goals, and I always capture that, because you need to be doing the course for a purpose. And for some it's a work-life balance, for some it's able to respond and manage their emotions well. For others, it's like I spoke about earlier, handling emotional outbursts better. For others, it could be reducing stress and anxiety. I had a wonderful example of coaching a friend, actually. She's not a client, she's a friend. She texted me at work and said, "Can I speak to you now?" And I thought, well, that's a bit unusual. I better respond. So I moved to a quiet room and rang her, and she was in the middle of a panic attack. And I was doing my PQ course at the moment, and I knew exactly what to do. And I talked her through a PQ rep and gym over the next few minutes, and it transformed how she felt, and the panic attack subsided. So a real tangible way of speaking into someone's mind when it's out of control. And she went on to do the course and has really benefited from really able to ground herself with those PQ reps on the app.
Well, that's a good way segue into to discussing one of the key parts of the program, which is learning these PQ reps, which are fundamentally, I mean, it's not unlike meditation or a lot of other things that just help you clear your mind. And we use them within the program to once you recognize there's a trigger or a flashpoint or whatever it is that you want to call it, the thing that's disturbing you, to calm yourself and slow down your mind so that then you can shift to this other different, hopefully more positive perspective. So I think all of us, or a lot of us, come upon this like, well, this is magical. It's not really that magical. It's been done by people for probably millennia, but it is the specific tools that you learn about how to stop all that mind chatter. So what has been your experience with that? Or maybe I want to get onto like demoing what one of these can be and how it can be used to even slow our mind chatter even right now in the moment. But what has your experience been with that?
Yeah, I think that aspect is so key for parents, because you are permanently distracted, really. At work, everything's coming at you quickly: emails, telephone, meetings, demands. So your mind is in lots of different places. Even though you might be just trying to focus on one thing, there's lots of interruptions. And at home, you might be trying to cook the tea, respond to a friend in need, help someone with homework. Someone's just fallen over and cut themselves. You're literally juggling from the minute you walk in the door. And so I think this is a fantastic opportunity, not really to clear your mind, but to focus on one thing. And what we're taught to do is to focus on one of your 5 senses. So you don't need to be in your yoga outfit on your mat. You don't need to be on a hilltop with a gong. You can be boiling the kettle and making a cup of tea mindfully. And I've got one of my earlier clients on one of my first pod groups. She has transformed her focus for when she makes a cup of tea. She's an at-home mum with a business. So she's, working from home. And when she makes her cups of tea, she does it so mindfully. She doesn't stack the dishwasher. She doesn't check her phone. She fills up the kettle and listens to the water. She places it on the base and she switches it on. She listens to how the kettle is boiling. She gets her favorite mug and then she puts her tea bag in it, and she does it so mindfully. That is all she focuses on. And she uses that like an F1 stop, like you would in a car. In an F1 race, they have a pit stop, they change their tires, and then they go again. Okay, and it's like a pit stop, an F1 pit stop, where you can be ready to respond to what's doing next. So you can use it at work, because when you change jobs within your role. So you might be doing an email one thing, writing a report to another, or making a phone call. So you can do an F1 stop just by making a cup of tea, and that can be counted as a PQ rep. You don't have to use the app all the time. You can learn to do it yourself. And so that's my experience, is being able to catch yourself and do things mindfully before you transition again, so that you're actually only focusing on one thing. Because we all know multitasking is not the best way to work. That's old hat now, multitasking. It's doing one focused thing at a time, and that's what helps. PQ helps to bring clarity to that, definitely.
Yeah. So maybe you could give us a demonstration of something that you like to use that's outside of the app, and see if we can recreate that experience for people.
Yep. So I'll do just a minute or two PQ rep now for you. So I'd like to invite you to close your eyes and just take a couple of slightly deeper breaths. Noticing the temperature of air as you inhale and the temperature of air as you exhale. And then allowing your breathing to return to its natural, relaxed rhythm. And as thoughts come into your mind, just allow them to pass by like clouds in the sky, and return your awareness to your breathing. And as you breathe in, that signals to our minds that this is a safe space. When we're anxious, we breathe fast and shallow. But because we're breathing regularly and softly now, that signals to our brain that this is a safe space. And I'm going to do some PQ reps on your sense of touch. So I'd like you to take one hand and spray it out, so all your fingers wide in front of you. And then taking your index finger, starting at the base of your thumb, just gradually trace all the fingers of your hand. So going up to the tip of your thumb and then down the other side. And then slowly up your index finger, noticing all those different sensations of touch. And if your mind wanders, which it invariably will, just gently bring it back to noticing those sensations of touch on your hand and fingers. And slowly continue to move on to the next finger, noticing all those sensations of touch. Letting go of any thoughts you might be having. And then moving to your small finger, as you finish tracing your hand. And then just returning your awareness to your breathing. And just savoring this moment of quiet. Maybe you haven't stopped at all during your day. Maybe you're just about to transition to something else. And just allow your mind to have this space where it's just focused on one thing, which is your breath. And as we bring this short meditation to a close, allow your awareness to come back into the room. And when you're ready, open your eyes and have a stretch.
Well, thank you for that. That was, it's always amazing to me, even after having done this now for what, 2-3 years now, is just how you feel differently, even after just a 2-minute break like that. It really, you know, it's not unlike meditation or a lot of other different tools like this, but it's immensely powerful.
Yeah, it's at work today, my little alarm went off and there was 3 of us in the office. I said, does anyone want to do some PQ reps today? And they were like, oh, and they said, what about you? And I was like, the minute you feel like not doing it is the minute you need to do it. We're like, come on, let's go. And we just had, a really precious 5 minutes to stop. And it just reinvigorates you and it almost increases your capacity. It's like that breath. You're like, I can do this. You know, I can go back and do what I need to do at my desk. And there's something very empowering about that. You know, no one's telling you to do it. You know, it's right for you. It's the best thing to do. Yeah. And it's just, like you said, getting into those habits that this is what I need. It's like being plugged in, you know, unplugged and plugged in. Yeah.
Yeah, I have clients who use this really effectively at work. A lot of them are changing the way they work, and there's a lot of tools in terms of collaboration, how to better communicate with your coworkers or your employees or your bosses. A lot of people are using it at home, but I also have one guy who just swears by this for his golf game. He just won a golf tournament, and he you know, he didn't go from being a hacker golfer to suddenly a championship player, but he gives a lot of credit to his most recent successes on doing these PQ reps before every time he goes up to the tee, and more power to him. I wish it worked for me in my golf game that way. It works in other ways, but not my golf game. Not so far.
Brilliant. Yeah. I think it's quite incredible what you might be able to achieve without the saboteurs.
Yeah.
All the time, you know, that does make sense. Yeah, that does make sense. If your saboteurs are kept quieter, then there's more of your sage, which is going to be better. I'm going to play golf better. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, it's really been a pleasure talking to you this morning, or your afternoon, my morning. And I invite everybody to go to futurepaathlifecoaching.co.uk to see Jackie's offerings, including the PQ program that's starting at the end of October, 29th of October, and then the Mom Boardroom, which I just really a wonderful concept. I've run a bunch of groups with dads in the same fashion, and it's just a beautiful thing to have a group of people who are not they're invested in your happiness and success, but don't have a stake in your life. They can give you the best support you can get without having a personal part of your relationship. So
yeah, it's very precious. It's a real privilege to be leading in this space, and I absolutely adore it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, have a wonderful afternoon. I'm Paul Banis at GreatDad.com. You can find more about my PQ offerings at Paul Banis or GreatDad.com /PQ. and love to see you in a pod. I run mostly groups with dads. So it's a different type of situation, but the same ideas there is supporting moms and dads in this most beautiful and precious time of their lives that sometimes can use some support. All right. Thank you.